You're watching Drakewing Gaming. Enjoy the video. Hello everyone, Nary here from Drakewing Gaming, and some of you know me on Twitter, The Gaming Drag, and today I'm coming at you another Let's Play episode of No More Future using the new public release build. Say hello, Sedge.
Hello! I can't see the game because Neri forgot to stream it.
Crap. Hey guys, we're back. That was my bad. I wasn't streaming my screen to Sedge, but here we are. He can see it, and let's get right into it. Let's see. All right. So, it's not going to crash if I click, is it?
No, don't worry.
Okay, because I've had a couple RenP games do that. Okay.
No, let's hope it doesn't do that.
Okay. Oh, God. Okay. It's been some time. Look at that boy. Look at that metal boy.
You do be looking nice and fine.
You recall that fateful afternoon and the nightmares that followed for what must have been the 20th time now. 2 weeks have passed since your transition, and you still can't wrap your head around everything that's happened since. It still doesn't make any sense. None of this does. Your life certainly hasn't been the same since it ended. Supposedly ended, anyway. That sure was a sentence you never imagined yourself saying, though, to be fair, you never imagined things turning out this way for you either. When you first woke up, it felt like you just won the lottery. Everything, especially your own body, felt so much different than it did when you last went to sleep. But you felt... Surely that meant that the transition had succeeded. But it wasn't that simple. You knew that going in, and you know that even now. You try your best to push these thoughts to the back of your head. You've grown tired of reminiscing, especially on memories as bitter as these. Not out here. Not right now. Not ever again. You try to reassure yourself as you gaze outside the window of your carriage. The ride to New Relay is a short and, at least so far, uneventful one. The mag train is fast and rather quiet, at least on the inside. You weep for anyone who might accidentally find themselves too close to it as it darts around the countryside at the speed of light. The sun still hasn't fully popped out of the clouds, and hangs low on the horizon, giving the sky a lovely reddish hue you never got a chance to see before in your life. The clouds themselves curl and twist on the horizon, morphing every minute into something different. Meanwhile, the sun highlights their white bodies with its red and yellow lights, like an artist painting a canvas. It's such a shame, you think, that views like these are only available so early in the day, when so few people can properly appreciate them. What a silly thought that was. After all, you no longer need to sleep or even rest. You can see the sun rising from the horizon any day you want now, so long as you remember to set your inner alarm clock correctly. Certainly you could do that, but you ultimately decide against it. It would probably ruin the magic a little too soon. A warning comes over the intercom, jolting you away from your thoughts. You're about 5 minutes away from New Relay, it would seem. You've still got some time to waste as you travel to your destination. Better make the most of it. Tired of gazing through the immaculate glass, you take a brief look around the train for the umpteenth time. You're no stranger to trains, but you aren't as used to traveling long distances as you'd like. You'd quickly grow accustomed to the ins and outs of the system all the way back in high school, and it turns out that planning a trip to New Relay isn't any more complex than going to school used to be back then. The ride isn't quite as exciting as all the posters plastered around the train marketed it to be, but for the most part, you don't mind. The seats definitely look much more comfortable than they truly are, though. Even you can feel it, and you're made of steel and carbon and, presumably, other stuff you can't be bothered to remember. It doesn't bother you a great deal, though that's only because you remember to deactivate the pain receptors in your lower body in time. You'll always be grateful to Mary for teaching you how to do it as soon as she could. It's one of those life hacks that you always wished you had as a human. That, and infinite money. This does make you wonder, though. Even if you can feel how uncomfortable those seats are, how does a human deal with it? You rattle all over as you try to imagine how the average commuters behind must have evolved after decades of enduring such abuse. God, what am I even thinking? I guess the loneliness is really starting to get to me, huh? The more you try to distract yourself, the more you realize that there aren't any people around to be distracted by. There's not a single passenger in your wagon besides you. Some tried getting in back at the station, but they all left as soon as you arrived. You can't help but feel that the other carriages are a little more packed than usual, all because of you. I thought it wouldn't bother me, but it just feels so surreal. Never thought I'd say this out loud, but I really wish I had someone to.
Were you expecting some passengers to materialize out of nowhere by chance?
A now all too familiar voice, devoid of emotion or accent, reprimands you for your feeble hopes. It feels almost like a second set of thoughts, speaking right beside your own. A very intrusive second set of thoughts.
I would advise you against hoping to be approached by anyone until you arrive at the new relay train station, Isaac. You should know, the odds of a human using an ability to teleport in this very carriage as it's moving are next to none. Unsurprisingly, if I may add.
You sigh as you try to come up with a witty line to reply to the sarcastic voice in your head with. Well, they do say hope's the last to die.
In fact, Isaac learned the hard way.
The AI's weak attempts at dark humor hit a little too close to home for your liking. Hey, don't talk about me as if I'm dead.
From a purely medical standpoint, I'm afraid that...
Arthur? Your voice is low, quiet even, and yet its thunderous power is enough to shake the very wagon under your paws. Shut the fuck up. An uncomfortable silence follows your outburst.
Understood. I'll refrain from making similar comments in the future.
After a few moments of near-perfect silence, you sprawl your strained body on your seat to allow yourself some semblance of relaxation. What a bother. That annoying B-grade Mary insisted on installing in your spine, or the closest synthetic equivalent, has proven itself time and time again to be more trouble than it is worth. Between his attempts at helping without ever being asked, his impolite and oftentimes downright offensive remarks, his jokes, you've truly had enough of your new cybernetic assistant. Mary tried to convince you to give it a couple more days, but you were adamant. It had to go. Today. In the end, she obliged without much convincing needed on your end. You can say a lot of things about that lunatic, but at the very least, she's always eager to lend you a hand when you need it. So now you're on a train to New Relay once again, 3 days after your official public release. Your open beta, as some nerdy researchers at Pandora addressed it. You didn't think you'd be returning to the lab so soon after leaving, but what can you do? You can only hope your stay won't be as long as last time.
You're phasing out once more, I take it. You appear to do that more and more often lately.
What are you gonna do? Gonna start judging me for that too?
Yes, I will.
You exhale another gust of air, defeated. Such a pointless act sighing has become. Breathing in and out are now mere actions you can do at a whim, not automatic processes that dictate your life and death. And yet, loudly exhaling when stressed or disappointed is just one of those tics you've learned in life that'll haunt you for the rest of eternity, it seems. Not wanting the AI to have the last word in this conversation, you quickly resume from where you left off. Well, there's not a whole lot to do in this empty carriage, is there? I'd browse the web or play some games, but I'd have to go through you to do that.
It's not my fault you still haven't learned how to do that on your own.
Considering it is your job to teach me how to do it, it literally is.
Anyway, I could still manage the Web Explorer app if you're bored.
Don't you dare say it like that. Trying to pretend like you wouldn't interrupt me midway through a video to tell me some random facts about llamas or something.
Very important facts on llamas, thank you. That forum I found them on was quite adamant about it.
Or shut down the game I'm playing 5 minutes after starting because I'm damaging my eyes.
I am merely sharing expert medical advice in an effort to prolong your lifespan, Isaac.
I don't even have eyes anymore.
That doesn't mean you shouldn't take care of them.
The sound that comes out of your mouth next is borderline inhuman. You're not going to make it another day with this mistake of science around. Of that, you're sure. Luckily, the sound that comes out of the train speakers next is far more amiable to the ears. With its pre-recorded feminine timbre, it reminds you that the famed metropolis is just around the corner. Thank goodness for that, at least.
Friendly reminder not to leave any luggage behind on the train.
Arthur, we both know I literally brought nothing with me.
Just try and look out for you.
You decide that you've wasted enough time arguing with this brainless AI and get ready to leave as soon as the doors open. Thankfully, it only takes a few moments for the familiar shadow of the station to come into view behind the glass windows, followed soon after by the train's brakes working their magic beneath the carriage. You pray the rest of the day will go by a little faster than your morning did. When the doors open, it really feels like you've stepped into a different reality. Compared to Bloomberg, still stuck someplace between the past and the present, New Relay feels like a city decidedly projected into the future, train station included. Though parts of it are just the same as they were 100 years ago, its ancient architecture preserved for the sake of posterity, the impact of progress is undeniable. The sun shines through the glass roof onto the platforms below, basking the area in a warm red light. The hedges that adorn the boarding platform acquire a soothing, almost blue tinge at this time of day. They were originally put there to help separate the queues near the train doors, so that fewer people would walk near the edge of the platform, or so you seem to recall. You imagine that plenty, at the time, mocked the idea without a second thought, but it's hard to argue with the results. Their mere presence appears to be enough to instill in the passengers some semblance of order in the chaos of the morning rush. In the distance, on the other side of the platform, you can see a large hollowboard tinged in white and blue and white and light blue, highlighting a list of incoming and outgoing trains for all to see. A plethora of small projectors, most of them smaller than your fingers, hang from the ceiling above, changing color, potency, and angle as dictated by the station's personal AI, whose boring, mechanical, male-like voice you can hear from time to time. You still take it over Arthur, though. No question asked.
Rude.
Just stating facts, friend.
Friendzone to boot. Truly, the worst day of my non-life.
Ignoring the nonsensical musings of your AI assistant, you step off the train and onto the delicate yet sturdy floor of the station proper. You half expected the tiles beneath your paws to crack and shatter under your weight, but they hardly seem to notice you amidst the sea of people walking to and from trains in the morning rush. Sometimes it's hard to believe that your body weighs a meager 200 pounds. There's likely no diet in the world that could make you any lighter, but for the time being, you're comfortable with your size. As you're busy pondering these things and taking in the sights of the always mesmerizing building, you start to notice some oddities hanging around the place. Small lights linger in the air, spread all over the place without rhyme or reason. Sometimes even floating around as if possessed by a will of their own. Arthur?
What is it?
I'm not imagining all these little light orbs flying around, am I?
Little light orbs.
Yeah, you can see them, right?
In honor of our friendship, I'm inclined to say yes, but lying to your friends isn't very nice.
For a friend, Arthur's way too annoying for your liking. Well, can you run a quick check and figure out what could be causing this?
Analyzing. Analysis complete. Also, by the way, I don't know if you've noticed it yet, but Isaac's talking about the quote-unquote bright lights in the background, basically.
Yeah, I can see
the
them.
ones you can see.
Yeah, I was wondering what those were.
Results are inconclusive. Hardware is operating at 100% efficiency, and no viruses have been detected in your systems. The most likely cause of this anomaly is a glitch of some sort in your visual processing software.
At least he can say that much without giving you any sass. Is there anything you can do about it?
Whatever this glitch is, it's not detectable by my subroutines, which is to say, it might as well not exist. Are you sure you're not making it up?
Do I look like I'm making this up?
In honor of our friendship.
Shut. This is getting ridiculous. Though your annoyance with Arthur aside, you have to admit, those cute little wisps definitely do play their part in giving the place a wonderful, eye-catching atmosphere. You never saw anything like this back when you were human. Not by a long shot. It's a small addition, but it already feels like a whole new way of viewing reality. The closest thing you can compare them to are fireflies dancing in the night above a flowery meadow. Something you never saw for yourself, mind you, but if all these ebooks and movies you watched were correct, then this is probably how it's supposed to look. You wouldn't be able to tell either way. Fireflies haven't been spotted in the American countryside for a couple decades at least. Some even speculate that they're extinct by now. Probably not the right moment to start thinking about depressing stuff like that, all things considered. Back to your priorities. It's almost 7 a.m. That's not too late, I think. You still have plenty of time before your appointment at the labs. At least a few more hours, if Mary can be trusted. You figure that you can hang around the place for a while. Maybe explore around it for a bit, since you didn't have a chance to do so the last time. As you're walking around the place, too focused on sightseeing to really care about anything else going on around you, you spot a vending machine hanging by the stairs. Its glass glistens from within, highlighting the many snacks and drinks for sale, and the sparkly colors and cool designs that decorate it don't fail to lure you in. You don't feel thirsty or hungry, mind you. This body no longer needs to eat or drink to sustain itself. However, you still remember what craving food and water feels like, that hole that always appeared at the back of your throat, clawing at you from inside, aching to be filled. You're not sure why, but in the end, you walk to the back of the short queue that formed from behind the machine and peacefully await your turn as you ponder on this strange feeling. You can still eat and drink whatever you want without fear of something shutting down your systems. Standard food and beverages still produce calories that can be absorbed by your body, providing a minuscule amount of energy for your own use. The rest, the waste, gets safely dumped into the stream of fuel that courses through your veins, which does most of the heavy lifting and keeping you up and running. Still, you're technically wasting your time and Pandora's money by purchasing something here. Not to mention, you're also wasting food that would be far more useful and nutritious to others. So, why are you here? Why are you still doing this?
Isaac, it's your turn.
The AI's monotone voice intrudes once more into your thoughts, almost making you jump from the scare. You think of a reply hastily, almost automatically. What do you mean? There's at least... There's not. Not anymore, anyway. All the people that were previously in the queue before you are now standing at least 5 feet away from you, and more keep on coming by the dozens. You're basically surrounded by people, all pointing their phones straight at you, the lights near their cameras turned on. You take a look at them as they stand in the middle of the platform, motionless, as if utterly petrified by your mere presence. A plethora of different reactions spread across different ages, species, and genders. Shock, confusion, awe, fear. Definitely not a sight that inspires much confidence in you.
Those are all YCHs, by the way. Not actual characters that we'll see again later on.
I had a feeling. That's pretty cool. The situation is...
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just feel like it's a cool way to like give back to the community, basically. Like I feel like we have these cool backgrounds. Might as well have people in them when possible.
Yeah, that's actually a really nice addition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it adds more character to the environment.
Yeah. Obviously, I'd rather not have to use them and reuse them every time the background is used, because otherwise it gets also pretty unbelievable.
Well, yeah, it'd be kind of creepy to have the same 3 characters following you around.
Yep. So we're probably going to have to, like, when we include them in backgrounds, we're probably going to change them for every single interaction, which means more money from me! I'm kidding.
I mean, hey, earn that cheddar. Alright, the situation is definitely strange and very unsettling. You try to reason with the crowd as best you can. Is this really necessary? A collective gasp follows your inquiry, as onlookers take a few steps back and begin to whisper amongst each other. You didn't have to run off like that, you know. I could just wait my turn, it's really not a big deal. Yet more of the same, it seems. Nobody seems very interested to talk to you, as much as they are in talking about you. You're starting to feel a little uncomfortable thanks to all the stares and the hushed mutterings. It's not a hostile environment per se, but it's certainly not a welcoming one either. You begin to question whether your quest for refreshments is truly worth all the hassle. Ah, fuck it. After giving it some thought, you eventually decide that the stares of the passers-by don't unsettle you nearly as much as the lack of soda in your life right now. You know that you can't blame them for reacting this way. You understand where they're coming from. In another world, perhaps you'd even be amongst their ranks yourself. But you can't let their worries and fears get in the way of you enjoying your life, now that it's finally back in your hands. Confidently, you approach the vending machine amidst the gasps and murmurs of the nearby onlookers. There's so many pretty-looking things to choose from. Simple crackers, chocolate-filled desserts, spicy mini pizzas, fruit juices, fizzy drinks. The whole world, or at least the very least this dispenser, is your oyster. Or it would be, if the prices on half of this stuff weren't so unbelievably high. $6 for a pack of multi-flavored domino cakes? That's insane!
Friendly reminder that you have a weekly $500 budget entirely paid for by Pandora, and that you are currently $500 away from depleting it.
Oh sure, let me just make terrible spending decisions just because I'm an android and a mega corporation pays for everything anyway. Great idea!
Yes, it is indeed a great idea.
Okay, maybe it is a good idea. You certainly could get away with it, and Mary did insist that it was fine for you to buy some things for your own enjoyment from time to time. However, at the same time, it's someone else's money you're throwing around like candy, and this arrangement probably won't last forever. You should be cautious of establishing any nasty habits right now that might bite you in the back later. Though, there's also an argument to be made that specifically because this won't last forever, you should be taking advantage of this opportunity while you can. Besides, it's not like Pandora will run out of money or anything. Ah, whatever, I'm going all out. Nobody can stop me. After much deliberation, you settle on the deadly combo of some bacon-scented crackers and a small bottle of an orange-flavored energy drink. You definitely wouldn't have tried anything this suspicious back when you were human, but now that you're a synthetic, you figure that you can at the very least try it out without keeling over and dying on the spot. At least you hope so. You lock eyes with the vending machine's touchscreen pad, where a stylized, smiling face awaits your input. You know what to do.
I do. But will I?
You will.
Any chance you could say please and ask me the proper?
You make as if to reach behind your back with your hands towards your neck, absolutely disinterested in Arthur's shenanigans. Before you can even get to work parting around for the AI's hardware attachment, however, the smiley face on the touchpad twitches for a second. Not even a blink of an eye later, and the counter at the top now clearly shows you that there's 10 whole dollars inside the machine. Enough to pay for your meal and then some. Now that's another very cool thing that you wished you could do yourself, instead of letting an unreliable AI take care of everything for you. It's definitely much more convenient than carrying around a wallet full of credit cards, that's for sure.
There. Now stop fooling around back there. I'm sensitive.
You're really, really not.
You're right. I meant sensible. Silly me. Please keep it that way, thank you.
Oh my god, won't you please just... screw this. I'll just grab what I came for and get the hell out of here. You type in the numbers of the snacks you desire into the touchpad and wait for the machine to do its job, pushing the items off their pedestals and onto the cold metallic floor below. The crowd gasps in shock and awe as it realizes what just happened, but you try not to let it bother you as you conclude your transaction. You reach into the machine and grab your stuff. The packaging leaves much to be desired on both accounts, but both the crackers and the energy drink look enticing enough to make the price feel a little worth it. It's tempting just to open them up and start snacking right here and now, but you quickly figure that you'd rather be surrounded by a few less people while you do that. You stuff your newly bought treats into your spacious yellow jacket and make as if to leave, still utterly unimpressed with the little theater going on around you. Upon your approach, the ever-fearful crowd parts in two like the Red Sea, giving you ample space to move around as everyone gawks, whispers, and takes photos around you. As you leave those people behind you, you can't help but think about how unbelievable that whole scene really was. Never in your life would you have thought you'd reach these levels of popularity, or unpopularity, depending on how you view it. Those people seem to treat you more like an art piece than a person. Is this really how it's going to be from now on? Are you supposed to get used to this? It seems both you and the public at large still need some time to get properly accustomed to each other. Some more than others, it seems. As soon as you make it up the stairs that lead to the exit, in the midst of a large gallery surrounded by flashy stores and ad boards, you're approached by a pair of police officers in their black and blue uniforms. The brown grizzly in charge gives you angry looks behind his oval glasses as he whispers inaudible words into a small walkie-talkie in his hand. His eyes dart around all over the place, almost as if wary of something, but he always ensures to keep you in his periphery at all times. His partner, a slightly more meek bunny, appears at first glance far less harsh than him in both body and gaze. However, his stiff body language leaves no doubts as to his feelings towards you. You easily tower over both of them from your 6 feet of carbon and metal. However, you don't find that fact very reassuring right now.
All correction, it's 6 feet 6. I fucked up.
Jesus, that is pretty big.
It used to be 7 feet, actually. But then we realized that is a little bit too big, so we toned them down to 6'6".
Ah, gotcha. You'd probably be sweating right now if you were still capable of it. You've been approached by officers while in this new body before, but last time they definitely didn't have their hands hovering over their holstered mag pistols like that. They're on edge, of that you're quite sure, and not just because you're extremely on edge yourself. You divert your gaze from them as fast as you can and try to speed up your pace, but you hear the bear's voice beckoning you nevertheless. Hey, you! You pretend you didn't hear that. It seems to work at first. until you find the grizzly standing right in the middle of your way out, his hands molded into fists, his face possibly even angrier than it was before. You spot his partner rapidly approaching him from behind, looking a little upset and afraid, perhaps due to the bear charging forward without him, or perhaps due to him charging forward at all. You truly have no time for this. Okay, maybe you do, but you certainly don't want to spend it here anyway. I'm sorry, I'm in a hurry, could I just... You try to dart past the man, but he sidesteps in the way yet again. You're going nowhere until we're done here, is that clear? You're lucky you don't have eardrums, that scream would have definitely broken them. Perhaps he's a little too used to the loud noises of the mag trains, much like the rest of the regulars here. Out of curiosity, you glance back towards the stairs where you came from. No good. The smaller rabbit's already there, blocking that way as well. You're completely surrounded. The gruff officer makes as if to speak once more as he slowly circles around you. Oh! And there goes the timer. Do you think that's a good place to pause it?
Probably not. We should probably get to the end of the scene.
Okay, cool.
Should be another 5 to 10 minutes. Depends.
Okay, alright. Well, well, well. Where's this big hunk of scrap heading off to, huh? His tone is aggressive, mocking, unpleasant. But luckily, he's a little quieter than before. Unluckily, that doesn't make him any more fun to listen to. You decide to feign ignorance. I'm sorry, are you talking to... He's asking... I'm sorry. He's asking where you're going in such a rush. You turn your head around, surprised. This time it's the rabbit behind you who speaks, clarifying his partner's question so that you have no wiggle room to evade it. He speaks much more calmly, at the very least. However, that only makes his restrained hostility all the more apparent. It appears that nothing you do will save you from this conversation, no matter how hard you try. Maybe just being upfront about what you're doing will get these officers off of you. It's reasonable enough to assume so, you think. I'm just heading to the Pandora Labs down in the city center. You know, big building, lots of windows, huge crystal ball at the top for who knows what reason. You quickly pick up that the grizzly is not amused by your description, for some reason. It's just a quick visit, then I go straight home. So, can I go? You think that'll cut it? Ha! For a walking calculator, you sure can't put 2 and 2 together. Wow. Rude. I want to know who you're meeting, what you're doing, and when you're doing it while you're at it. And I won't accept half-assed answers. What? That's insane! That's all private information. You can't just stop me in the middle of the street and ask me for... Oh, what's this? Sounds like someone's resisting arrest, wouldn't you say so, boy? The policeman nods confidently to his partner behind you, a smug grin on his face. I'm... What now? Since when am I getting arrested? Did you lose your mind along with your manners? Huh? What was that? The grizzly is practically shouting right in your face right now, much to your annoyance.
Yes, what was that? For a moment, it sounded as if you were starting to stand up for yourself.
You roll your eyes as you hear the AI sarcastically mock you inside your head. Not you too! Can't you just keep quiet until this is all over?
My apologies. I'll remain quiet until the officers deliver you to the police station then.
Yeah, you do that until... Wait, what do you mean with... They're not actually going to bring me in, are... That's it! You're coming with us, you little freak! Right as you're about to rebuke Arthur's taunts, you feel the rough fur of the bear's hand as he wraps it tightly around your wrist and begins pulling you somewhere. Or tries to, anyway. It'll probably take him a solid minute to move you just 1 foot away from where you currently stand. Either you somehow weigh more than you thought you did, or he's really out of shape. Eventually, his rabbit buddy tries to help him by pushing as hard as he can, but that hardly improves the situation. You can't help but feel like their efforts are entirely pointless, if not ridiculous. When you think about it, this whole situation is hilarious. You're a massive android that easily towers over both of them, yet you're still afraid as if these men have any real power over you. You still view them as you did back when you were human, but lots of things have changed since then, haven't they? That's right. Mary told you what to do in a situation like this before. It's about time you ended this charade. Ugh! Move already, you big fat hunk of... Suddenly, quickly, you retract your arm towards your chest, instantly freeing it from the policeman's tight grasp. Woefully unprepared, the man ends up flopping onto the floor, butt first, staring at you with flabbergasted eyes from just a few feet away. Realizing what just happened, the bunny stops his futile attempts at moving you and takes a few steps backward. Then a few more, as you turn to face him for a second. I'm not going anywhere with you two. Not now, nor ever. Is that clear? As the grizzly gets back up on his feet, you hear his shouting become even more hysterical. Oh, you've done it now, fucker. You think you're gonna get off with something small like loitering or disturbing the peace, huh? Resisting arrest, insulting a public official, assaulting an officer of the law. The bear would certainly sound more threatening if his tone didn't get higher. Getting higher with every meaningless accusation he throws at you. With the notes he's hitting, perhaps opera singing was a better career choice for him. That's why I got to take a moment. I'm just picturing that. It's just funny image.
Now.
It's funny, because there's actually a bear in another VN called Echo with an extremely high-pitched voice.
I never actually played that one.
Yeah, it's super high-pitched country voice.
Mm-hmm.
Alright. I'll send you to the scrapyard if it's the last thing I... Shut the fuck up. You can't arrest me for anything, and you know it. You think I'm just gonna agree to everything you say? That I'm gonna be so afraid of you that I won't know what to do? The loud policeman makes as if to say something, but you stop him before he can even begin. I know my rights, and my lack thereof. I know what you can and cannot do. And I know that you do as well. That's why you haven't dared to call for backup, because you know that I'm simply out of your league. How? How dare you? You have no idea of... I'm leaving, with or without your approval. Now, if you'll excuse me. Without further ado, you step around the two men and begin heading toward the exit once again, trying to ignore the roaring shouts of the grizzly behind you. After what feels like ages, you might have just managed to get rid of them. However, just as you're about to turn a corner and lose sight of them, you hear the rabbit's voice shout at you once again. You thought the first officer's voice was loud, but clearly being noisy and annoying is a trait many in the force share. Oop. Enter code Alpha 122321. Cease all functions and activities at once. His words are fast, but you can feel the uncertainty in his voice as he spells them out loud. You turn to face him for the last time. You can perfectly see every drop of sweat stream down his neck as he realizes you're not going to heed his commands. Really? That's your last resort? For some reason, I thought you were smarter than that. You almost laugh as the bunny's cheeks start flaring up from the embarrassment. A government-issued deactivation code for Pandora's C grades, I assume. Give me a break. You'd never heard such a code shouted out loud before. Certainly not at you, which is definitely a good thing, you reason. Had you heard that before, it likely would have been in the middle of an emergency of some kind, and then you would have had to be rescued by these sorts of people. As you prepare to leave the scene, you turn to face the two officers one last time. Oh, and for the record, you gather up all your rage for one final jab at the two men, who are still too stunned to talk back at you. I am not a goddamn AI, you pricks! And with that last shout, you take your leave, leaving the two stunned policemen behind without a care in the world. After overcoming the
whole train station clapped.
Okay. Is that the end of the scene?
Almost.
Okay. Alright. After overcoming the initial shock, the bear begins to call out to you, ordering you to return. You can't bring yourself to listen. He has no power over you either way. You exhale all your leftover stress through a lengthy sigh. It took a few minutes, but you're finally through with that insanity. Twice in 3 days. Those idiots just can't leave me alone, can they? Is this how it's going to be from now on? Forever? Assholes bothering me every other day just because they can? What do they even want from me anyway? It's like they're doing this just for shits and giggles.
Worrying. Perhaps I and my fellow AI should start writing formal complaints about humans stealing our jobs.
For once, you don't have to try too hard to ignore Arthur's jabs. You're far too busy mulling over what just transpired to think of anything else. I still don't understand why those guys have it out for me this bad. I get that I'm a high-tech prototype or whatever, but that doesn't explain anything. I didn't expect my life to suddenly become easier after the transition, but I definitely didn't think it'd become this bad either. I really don't know what to think. I was never stopped like that by an officer before, when I was still human. It's like I have a big target on my head now, and everyone wants to take a shot. You feel yourself shivering as you briefly relive the events that just transpired, though it's more of an act than a real bodily function. God, I still can't believe I actually said those things. To a policeman, no less. I really hope Mary knows what she's doing, telling me that it's fine to go out like that. I'm starting to think the whole new Relay Police Department has it out for me by now.
It certainly is now, if it wasn't before. Not saying it's your fault, of course, even though it definitely was.
Oh, shut it, you annoying overpriced. You leave the train station just the same as you arrived, arguing with a voice inside your head that nobody else can hear. Instead of a jail or a scrapyard, perhaps you'd be better off at a mental institution. Stressed and in dire need of some rest, you leave through the building's front glass doors and take your first steps into the shining city beyond.
Here, stop. We can stop here.
Okay, let me save it. Alright, that was awesome.
Thanks. We believe we're like nowhere even near the end of the first update.
That sounds good. I like that. I like a lengthy VN. It means more content for my viewers.
We barely even got done, like, when we reach the end of the current update, which by that point we'll probably have released the new one, we'll barely be over introducing all the characters.
That's great. I'm really enjoying this. I love the sci-fi concept kind of furry VN.
Thanks. I'm glad you're doing it. You're enjoying it. I'm thankful for all the comments from the people who are writing down your videos. I read everything. They're all so nice.
I know. I've cultivated quite a nice audience over the years. I don't put up with any of that toxicity shit.
Good. Well then, thanks for streaming the game. Maybe we can continue another time.
That sounds great, Sedge. Thank you again for joining me, and everyone, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to the next video. I love you all. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye! Not gonna say bye, Sedge?
Bye.